So welcome to Breathe, Move, Rest. It really is intended to be the simplest of practices in the sense that it can be adjusted and adapted to whatever it is that your day needs. Takes anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes. Our practice today will fill our 30 minutes by starting with some guided breath work for about 8 minutes, some guided movement from the basis of Dasha Shalana, the joint lubrications and churnings. And then we'll conclude by coming back down to the floor for about a 5 to 8 minute savasana, probably closer to 5 if I'm honest about how much I need to move between that breathing and the resting. The whole point here is to kind of check off the basics of your intentional self-care in terms of movement, in terms of introspection, and in terms of rest. There's 10 key practices that I teach that are research-based to help us to cultivate an intimacy with inspiration. This is what is the contents of the Yoga Living program, and Breathe, Move, Rest serves as its foundation. Breathe in through the nose, let it out through the mouth. Although not traditional yogic breath, this comes to us from the psychology, from energy medicine yoga, to help reset the nervous system, to recalibrate the energy channels. Whether we are beginning this practice of prioritizing self-care or just cultivating a deepening relationship, when we give ourselves this time in body, mind, and breath, we can pull from all sorts of practices and traditions. And one of those is learning to be with the sounds that our body makes, those that are both intentional and unintentional. So welcome in some sound. Perhaps we'll start with a sigh, moan, and then we're going to move into some humming or the bumblebee breath. So take your time. This will begin to transition into a closed mouth. Continue with the sigh or join me in the hum. Turning our senses inward even more, you might like to lay fingertips on the eyebrows, fingertips on the nose, fingertips on or just above the mouth, and the thumbs can gently hold the ears. Can't do this with my glasses on, so I'm going to take them off. Again, it's not so much you have to press, we're just slightly pressing to kind of give the energy of closing. And then this will allow the sound to reverberate a little bit more inside the skull. 3 rounds. Returning to an easy in and out breath. Dirga, excuse me, I rattled something loose. That's a good sign. So Dirga breath, belly, ribs, chest, and then deflate, chest, ribs, belly. That's just one interpretation of this Dirga breath. If you have a different technique, please feel free to adapt or try something different today. When you're ready, begin by filling in through the nose, the belly, the ribs, the chest. Deflate the chest, the ribs, the belly. Two more. Return to an easy breath in and out. Begin to circle the nose, lubricating the joints of the cervical spine, the neck. Add a little wiggle if you find there's room of the jaw. Good, and reverse the head. Into the shoulders. And remember, when we start movement, even if it's in the middle of the day, it's absolutely appropriate to start small and slow and let it grow if that begins to open up naturally by the consequence of the movement. Let's alternate. Right? By consequence of the warming from the muscles contracting and releasing. Now, to be honest, most of our muscular pain is not due to this use. It's due to a stuckness. The muscles, especially when they are underused or overused, get stuck in a contracted state. We call that the tonic state. Go ahead and add an elbow. Right? That tonic state is when the muscles themselves forget how to let go. And that's often the consequence of the unevenness on how we use our body. In other words, we have a dominance of contracting the front body and lengthening or stretching the back body in order to allow for the front body contraction. Okay, let's come back to both shoulders. So our yoga practice is not only to lubricate, but then to also bring in the counter or the opposite of how we use our body. So now we're going to bring the shoulders forward. This is what I mean. This is not as necessary for our body's rebalancing because we often move in this way or rest in this way. So let's go right into cat and cows. Exaggerating the rounding, tucking the chin, lifting the pubic bone. And then drawing the elbows back, the shoulder blades down, the chin up. Let the navel tilt forward. Start slow and build. Good. Add the arms. As you cat, give yourself a hug. As you cow, present your heart, your best self. Give yourself a hug. Reaffirm. And then share. Nurture and encourage. And offer. This is the balance of intentional self-care, filling our own cup so that we can share from the neutral or healthy, abundant place from our gifts and our talents, our energy, our excess. Good. This time as we unravel the arms, take them up to a sun breath. Bring them down through center. Notice where your gaze lands. Do the eyes close? Do they look off into the distance? Are you concentrating on something that perhaps is not part of this moment, this practice? In other words, are you thinking about what's next or what's past, your to-do list, or anything that is not relative? Let's reverse the hands to how we're moving, breathing, and resting here. This is the tapas, the discipline of focus, to choose to be in relationship to what is here right now. Good. One more of these reverse sun. And then we're going to bring the forearms together, the elbows if they reach. And if they do not reach, you're going to rest them on your side body and the hands come together so that we can swivel the wrists. This is a little tilt, 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 tilt. Circle the wrists. Or when you're ready, move right into more of a figure eight. And then see if you can go the other way. All right, go ahead and shake that off. We're moving into our lateral flexion, right? So one hand for support, the other hand for grounding. Holds that hip. Bow, shoulder towards the hip bone. Rise up, use that base hand for extra help, lifting until the spine, the muscles of the side body warm to this movement. And then as they warm to this movement and that hip stays grounded, you can even add a little more reach to that extension in the top arm. All right, 3 more rounds here. Your pace, bring the breath with you. In other words, the practice really is an invitation to have the breath begin the movement. Hence, breathe, move, rest. Ignite the breath, move the body, find a pause in ease. Breathe, move, rest. So it's a really universal strategy here. Here's our last round. I think I might have miscounted. It's happened before. It doesn't matter. We just want to go until we feel a little warmth in that side body. Because now we're going to switch into a spin. So hand is going to crisscross over. Gentle. Start small. And you can add on both in terms of the compression, that hand holding, right? And in terms of the effort, the hands lifting up and over. Now, depending on your seat, so I'm here in hero's pose, my knees are underneath my thighs, which is a lovely transition place because I could zip right up, adding a little more effort into this twist by lifting and then sitting. Starting the warm up on my lower body if I do so. If that's not appropriate for you or not available today, no biggies. Stay with the twisting of the torso with the arms lifting in any fashion, in any amount. I got 3 more here. And that third round, final round, I want you to pause in that twist for maybe 2 or 3 breaths. Well done. Rise, roll it over to the second side, and our final twisting pause, 3 breaths. Good job. As you unwind, we're going to switch off of our feet. So if our legs are tucked under or crisscross, bring them out in front. You might still like to sit on something. I like my bottom on the floor. Hands behind me in a comfortable orientation to sway the knees. All right, with the swaying knees, we're going to bring the back arm around into a bit of a mermaid reach. Back through center and to the second side. Again, so it's a bit of a twist, but it's also going to start to open up the hip flexor on that trailing leg. If you want to stretch that leg a little longer, feel free to do so. How's your breath? Good. So same concept here, swaying from one side to the other. This time I'm going to add a little elevation, right? So rolling onto my shin, a little bit of a lateral variation of wild thing. As I come through center then, I'm going to square the hips and lift the heart, maybe also the hips into reverse table. Take your time here, a little more energy happening. Adapt for your body and its needs today, right now. Three rounds here. That completes the first round. Working at your pace. That pace is determined by a comfortable breath. In and out. Last round. Now you finish on your time, please. Now, as you come back to center, wrap the arms around your lower body, wherever they fit. It's a little bit like a child pose or a seat pose. And then let the knees fall open, holding somewhere on the lower leg. Come back to a few cats and cows. changing the base, our stability, our foundation, will change the movement of the spine here. So what do you notice that's the same as when you did cat and cow before? And what's different? Good. Let's lengthen the distance between the feet and the groin. Now we're going to come back into a bit of a swim stroke. So one hand pulls back. So it's a forward crawl. Reach it up and over on that inhale. On the exhale, you're going to switch. Now you can choose how deep you want to bow through that moving shoulder. Okay? Couple more rounds here. Notice how we've integrated the three directions of the spine, meaning the lateral flexion, the forward, backward extension and flexion, and the spiral as we move through this swim stroke of the crawl. Last round, evening it out. Good, and pause just for a few breaths in this forward fold. We want to lubricate the ankles and the feet before we complete our movement portion and transition into Savasana. However, we're going to do that from a reclined place. So finish the fold, use your arms to lift your torso, and take yourself down. Crossing one ankle over the other side, go ahead and circle the foot. And reverse it. Good. Bring the whole unit up into the figure four fold. Now, this is the most acceptable variation. Your foot could be on a block or on the floor. If you want to go a little deeper, you can hug the foot of that top leg. Bring it in, just like you would if you were in a downward facing traditional pigeon. Good. As you release, go ahead and find your way back to both feet on the floor. Give a little rock or sway. And this is a bit different. I want you to reach your kneecap. Your feet don't leave the floor, but reach your kneecap towards the end of your mat, opposite end of your head. So it's going to be a little bit of a spiraling of the pelvic girdle. Not unlike the movement that our pelvis is designed to do when we walk, right? But we reduce the weight to almost nothing, in which case we might have a greater range and more ability to feel that little shift. Good. Go ahead and sway the knees again. And then the other leg is going to cross and roll out the ankle. And reverse it. And fold it in. Good. Final shape before Savasana. Happy baby pose, just for a few breaths. Maybe hands hold the big toe, the feet, the ankle, anywhere on the body. Might move to straighten the legs. And then begin your transition to Savasana. Bring in any props that you need to help bring ease and welcome a heaviness. Classically, legs long. Therapeutically, widen the feet so that the toes and the kneecaps point upward. This will help to offset the overwork that our bodies tend to endure in the front of our hip flexors, the psoas, the quadricep, the abdominals. The arms by your side comfortably, whether it's by your hips, by your shoulders, by your head. But see if you can't roll the palms open. Again, resetting the burden of the shoulder blades from our upright, forward, focused work. Steady the breath. Perhaps rest the eyelids closed gently. Let the teeth part. Maybe even just the slightest space between the lips. The breath continues in and out through the nose. Please know that you do not have to conclude at this time. If your schedule allows even for another minute, rest here as long as you need. Honor the three parts of this practice: breathe, move, and rest. You'll know when you're ready to re-engage, because you'll be ready to begin again. So receive this blessing as a closing to our shared experience. May you breathe deeply, move freely, labor lovingly. May you live vibrantly. Namaste. Thank you all so much for honoring this tradition of the yoga practice by fitting it in to your, I know, already busy lives, but making a priority for your self-care is key to living well. It is the yoga living practice. Be well.